I'm sorry, that wording was very confused.
Gotcha.
And the September 22nd, please make a note. We want to make sure we get with someone on helping us with that workshop. So we got a date that's good for everyone, so we want to make sure we follow up with it. Any other unreadiness, council? Call for the question?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept the meeting minutes for the regular city council meeting on August 13th, 2018.
Second.
And would you accept it friendly with any necessary corrections?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you've heard the motion. Call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, have the same right. Let's accept. Councilman Jones.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move that we approve the approval of the meeting minutes for the special city council meeting on August 18th be postponed to our next city council meeting, which is September 10th.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that item 2, consider and take action to approve the meeting minutes of the special city council meeting on August 18, 2018, be held over till September 10th. Further motion, ready for the question?
Question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Judge? Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You all have my report? Okay. I'll entertain any questions you have regarding the report. And I did make a note that you all wanted to have a different piece of the pie showing additional revenue source. So I do have a note, and we'll start that as of October 1st. Okay, yes, sir.
Will we also start on October 1st, the code ordinances, like the money that we received from the code ordinance?
Yes, sir, and that's what I was just referring to. So let me tell you where it would be. Look on the heading that says page 2 of 3. See page 2 of 3? If you see that pie chart down there, you'll have it broken out, so you'll know exactly what the dollar amount was and what percentage of the revenue it represented.
Thank you.
And if you want to see any other details, just let me know. Any other questions for me?
Judge, I think it would be good, particularly for the audience, the last meeting with FEMA, to kind of give them a sort of an update on.
Okay. Mayor is referring to actually just some technicalities. FEMA decided to recategorize some of our projects. It doesn't mean anything for the dollar amount. It just means that it was moved from one category to another where it fit better. For instance, there was some debris removal from the lift station over here on Ruby Road. I don't remember the name of the lift station. Ruby Road lift station. So there was some silt and some debris that was in that lift station that had to be I'm learning the terminology. So it had to be removed, and we had that under the category of debris removal, and it had to be recategorized as an emergency response type thing because it had to be done on an emergency basis. That is just an example of recategorizing a project. So we're getting close. How close? I don't know. And you never know because there are so many pieces of that, and I say it's like eating an elephant. You can't see until you get to the very end that you're close to the end. So that was our last meeting. We do have a regular FEMA meeting pretty much every week. I'm involved in that meeting as well as our public works people if it's necessary that they attend, and FEMA representatives, our project manager as well as our mitigation specialist. And we just finished validation site inspection where they come out and they validate everything that we have in writing. And that went very well, so we are getting closer to the end.
And I think for the record, it was just recently that we wrapped up 2015's disaster.
We did the final,
so they know.
yes sir, we did the final inspection just to ensure that the repairs that we say we did, we actually did. So we did a ride through and looked at all of those projects and close out 2015. We also have 2016. Everything that we need to do is done. We've already received some checks from that, have we, Mayor? From 2016? We haven't? Okay, well.
Some of the Texas Municipal Leagues, things that were covered under insurance.
Okay, all right. So we have another open project, which is the 2016 floods, if you all can remember that. And so now we have 2017, and we're going to trust the Lord that we won't have a 2018.
Thank you. Chief Solomon, anything you want to share with the public?
No. We did it last time.
Okay. Ordinance violations, I think we got an update on that, the budget thing, and nothing to report differently from Sunday. Public Works, the USW, Mr. Hewitt.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, citizens. I'm standing in for Prairie today. He had some family business to take care of. So our report is really brief. Under the compliance, you see all of the back teas that were approved for the month of July came back. They are in compliance. We filed all your monthly groundwater conservation reports, which are your well productions. We performed all the grease trap inspections. All those are passed. And we've also filed your DLQRs, which are quarterly residuals, to make sure that those are in compliance as well.
Is that TCEQ?
Yeah, they handle that. As far as operations goes, it's been a quiet month. It was a quiet month. We only had to respond to one RMS call. The city guys actually did have to come out and repair a force main, which meant the money stayed within the city. And our final FEMA walkthrough was July 31st for the validation, and all that went well.
And did Mr. Bostic give you any type of numbers on what might fall under FEMA? We know it falls under the TML insurance, but FEMA is essentially an insurance policy as well.
He said the ballpark figure on that is $120,000 to $150,000.
Okay, so Mr. Johnson, that's the number that we're talking about. If we're blessed to get back to deduct the 332 from the fire. Okay, any other questions from council? Yes, sir.
This for UAW, for you and Mr. Boston. I know with municipal court, whenever they have a report, they typically give us a handwritten report or something that we can take back and continue the progress to see that the municipal court is having. I'm also asking if you could give a written report, just because a lot of things are said whenever you're giving your report that we may not have time to write down or whatnot. That way, we have a written report. We could see something, identify it, talk to you or Mr. Bostic on our off time just to make sure that, the progress is made, just so we can keep note of these things.
No problem. You want that to go out to each member of the council?
No, you send it to us and then we'll transfer it to the council.
Okay.
And we could probably start with the report Mr. Bostic sent about 2 weeks ago. And so if you just send me a reminder of that or resubmit it. And I send it to myself and Ms. Dickey and we'll make sure it's circulated so council has that information. And I don't know if you're aware of this. I received, there was a complaint that was investigated by the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality in the city of Prairie, dated August 3rd. Just came through a little while ago. And it was a complaint somewhere along Business 290. And it's addressed to myself. It states the investigator's name with the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality that went out the Houston Regional Office of the above reference facility to evaluate compliance with applicable requirements for public water supply systems. No violations are being alleged as a result of the investigation. Something could come up further, but as her going out and doing what she did, we're fine. Said at this time, your public water system, water supply, continues to merit recognition as a superior system. So I think that's important for the public to be aware of. So just want to bring that out during the public works part of it.
And next month, we'll give an update on our most recent TCQ inspection. We have to get all that validated and finalized, but as far as I can tell you right now, everything has gone well. We didn't have anything negative come back, so but all that will be next month's report. Yes, sir.
Councilman?
My question is for Public Works, not necessarily. There was an item that was left off the agenda that was supposed to be in reference to Public Works and what we were doing. When we voted on item 3 on from the meeting minutes.
To include Mr. Boston?
Yes.
Mr. Boston, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. The new agenda item 3 that we all voted to be on the agenda.
Oh,
Because we were
this
supposed to
is,
get an update, right? Yeah, we just had the special call meeting and we were supposed to get an update this meeting about Public Works.
I might be looking at it wrong.
Yeah, it's the one that has half the other side of the drawing, it's number 3 where it says, Roland made a motion
Okay.
on occupancy, inspection, building permits, and reports, and any other related issues on the Benson Hill apartment complex, special call meeting be scheduled, and we all voted yes.
Right, and we had that special meeting, and this was the only item on the agenda, if I recall.
That's correct.
And we
No, we were supposed to get an
went
update.
back and through,
This meeting, we were supposed to receive,
What?
it was supposed to be on the agenda, and
receive what?
because we extended a temporary
Till today.
To today, because we were supposed to receive information on Panther Hill, through all the different things that Councilmember Rowland had asked for, so it was supposed to be presented today.
Well, I had Miss, and that would be on me, because I had Miss Cortez check, and we'll need to validate that, Ms. Dickey, but it was my understanding, because we didn't have a date on there, that a temporary CO is until the project is completed. So we'll have to check, well, gentlemen, maybe y'all know more about permits than I do. I'm just saying what we found, and we'll be glad to check on it, but we did have them here. We had several professionals speak too.
I just find it very interesting. We had the
Yeah.
minutes. The
Yeah.
minutes that we don't have state specifically what we're saying, that this meeting, that speaks to Public Works, that speaks to whatever half the people are in the audience are here about, was that work, that temporary permit that was issued. And so it should have been on this agenda, because we had a special call meeting and said, we had until Monday, whether we were gonna shut the project down, whether the temporary CO was gonna be revoked. So the temporary CO was supposed to go till today, because the only information we have, this is Public Works, we all have this, which is the inspection report, it says that the building failed, final failed. Today, we were supposed to receive information from Prairie that shows something different other than failed, or we have to take action. And it just is interesting that half the audience is talking about Panther Hill, and we have information. Prairie works with us in Public Works, and we don't have, and it's not on the agenda, and we don't have the minutes to our special meeting. So I just wanted that to be put on for the record.
Okay. Anything else you want on the record?
No, that's it.
Okay.
But I do say, since that was put on record, and due to the fact that they had already had a temporary CO, and we voted to extend that temporary CO, that maybe in the next couple of days we should have another emergency meeting, just to make sure that students are moving in properly and safely, due to the fact that some of the reports that were given today are contradicted by what students are actually sending and what students are actually putting on social media and what the news had even came out and seen today. So all those things, they kind of don't look good upon us for us to keep prolonging this process, being that it's supposed to be inspected, but you have students moving in a half-finished room. So how could you possibly tell me that a room is inspected when the ceiling is still open to that room which a student is moving into? So those kind of problems, we possibly have to, since we are talking about this issue right now, I think that it would be best for us, since it was left off the agenda, the proper thing for us to do is have the emergency meeting within the next couple of days, getting the things that Councilmember Brian Rowland has stated, so that way we can continue to keep our students and citizens safe and make a proper action in the city.
And I think it's my understanding that an emergency where it's, where it has to do with the livelihood or the health or safety of people can be held in 24-hour notice. So we can have an emergency meeting tomorrow if we want to, whether that be tomorrow or
Councilor, what's your take on the state's version of emergency? And then we'll start there.
My recommendation would be just to do the 72-hour notice to avoid any, if you're really going to take serious action as a consequence, for example, canceling a certificate of occupancy, you want to make sure you've got full 72 hours. And I would give notice immediately. And
72 hours is, well, as we try to get a date, since we're still talking about public works, Mr. Mayor, for the record, the city of Prairie has issued a temporary CO for only 2 buildings, is that correct?
No,
And
that's not correct.
That is correct. We said 10 and 12.
9 and 12. But this is what we want for the record. As far as in public works, we want to know for the record, which buildings have a temporary CO, because we only know it to be buildings 9 and 12, and then what buildings, or since it's more than 2, what other buildings have been approved through?
I don't have the numbers, but keep in mind, council doesn't issue certificates of occupancy. As the buildings are inspected by Bureau Veritas and our fire inspector, who you just heard how licensed he is, when he inspects them for fire and safety, we're able to issue a certificate of occupancy. And as the city's building official and mayor, that's my job, not council's. And unless you find something wrong with what Fire Inspector Bordeaux does or what Bureau Veritas does, you have no grounds to do much of anything. You're looking for something. You just mentioned canceling and closing the project. You've stated cease and desist a few times, and you have no reason for it. We can have your special meeting, but keep in mind what you think, what was voted on. Councilman Rowland made a motion to, I guess, discuss occupancy, inspections, building permits, and reports and any other related issues on Panther Hill Apartment Complex. We went through that for over an hour on Saturday, August 18th, at your request. Now, if you'll tell me specifically what you want, then I can have it either ready for the meeting or I can get it to council. Because there's nothing that you guys don't have access to.
Attorney Orson actually has stated that we put that and that we listed as it stated on the agenda. He actually came up with that statement. He helped Councilmember Brian Rowland put that statement together during the meeting so that way we could get out here and adequate amount of time.
So let's be clear. I am referencing, we did have the special meeting, but since we're talking about public works, and Bureau Veritas is one of the city contractors, we can't have this conversation. We have documents that says the
Bureau
building,
Veritas is not under public works, but go ahead.
they're in our contracted on our list when we're talking about administration. But
Go ahead.
you said it last meeting, so it doesn't apply.
Bureau
So,
Veritas is not a part of public works.
so Bureau Veritas, the documents we had that we received at the special meeting, Bureau Veritas says the building final failed. We were supposed to have this, we were supposed to have the item to be able to get additional subsequent information that gave us contrary information that said it passed or if it didn't. We were supposed to receive that today. And so we're asking as council, no, council don't approve COs, but council, there are things council can do. And so we're asking you, Mr. Mayor, what buildings have you approved with a temporary CO, and what buildings have you approved with a regular CO, so we know moving forward?
I don't have, I can tell you there's 6 or 7 buildings. Well, Mr. Bordeaux, would you come up, please? I'm sorry, Councilwoman Williams had something. Let me bring the council person in first. Go ahead, ma'am.
I think it's important that if we're gonna have a call special meeting, then the people involved in these inspections need to be present and not just something on a piece of paper. So Chris Haver, who is supposedly the person that's out inspecting all these buildings and giving the okay for all of these, seals or whatever, he needs to be here. He's the one that sent the email that Mr. Rowland has, I'm assuming, that said that the building failed. If he failed the building, then we need to hear from him why, not email to us. He needs to be here for this special meeting. We're not gonna keep having special meetings where people are pinpointing stuff and nobody's showing up to speak the truth about what's going on. And I'm not coming to another special call meeting to sit up here and the person who's doing it is not here. That's a waste of our time. So how do we make sure that Chris is gonna be here for this meeting to clear up what he emailed, not somebody else, what he emailed, pass, fail. He needs to be here to give an account of that.
Councilman Wallace?
So I've actually been in contact with Christopher Haver and Herschel Lee. Christopher Haver is the building inspector, Herschel Lee is a fire inspector. I've asked them to come to meetings multiple times, and they give me the same response. They will only come if the mayor or the city contacts them, because they said, no, they're not city secretary, because they said that they call corporate, and corporate said we're not going to come off a request of an individual council member. That has to be someone up there. So, and in reference to that, I even asked Herschel. I talked to Herschel Lee on Saturday, asking him, did he come? Was he called upon? To do the inspection on Saturday? It was a no. So in reference to Councilwoman Williams' a request of having them there, it would be on the mayor to let the corporate office know, Fort Worth, that they need to come down and do the inspection. And then they said off that request they would come.
Are you aware that Chris Haver with Bureau Veritas has been in this room and at that podium twice, and you're making it sound like he's never shown up here? This gentleman, hold on, Councilman, hold on. He's been here. So say if we need him to come back again, but don't make the audience think these folks have not come here. They've been here twice.
Marilyn, I only want him to come here so he can explain why is he
Sure.
going pass, and then when he gets to the building, he say fail. That's all I want to know. Why are you telling the building that, and you study saying these buildings are okay for these students to move into, and then you send an email, they move in on August 3rd, you send an email on the 10th saying that this building was not safe. So he needs to give an account of that part.
Gotcha. Fire Chief?
Mr. Man. That was I think that was the whole point of our special meeting. Our special meeting, we all walked out thinking that today, from the mayor's request to Bureau Veritas and all parties involved, we're going to be here to talk about this issue because we all agreed that we had differencing information, and the last information we had from Bureau Veritas, our third party, said that the building failed. And so I just want to be clear on that. We're following the process to move forward. And so Mr. Mayor, I think Councilwoman asked, are you going to request for Bureau Veritas to come to our September 10th meeting?
No problem. Let's go back to item 3. You made the motion regarding occupancy, inspections, building permits, and reports on any other related issues on the Panther Hill apartment complex. Special call meeting be scheduled for August 18 at 2 p.m. And we had that meeting. There's not one thing in the minutes saying that the mayor was supposed to get Bureau Veritas or anyone else here today. The minutes are a record of what took place. I hear what you're saying, and requesting someone to come is not a problem, but you're making it sound like I didn't do my job, and there's nothing in the minutes saying for me to do anything, and this is your motion.
We don't have the minutes.
Those minutes will be in the August 18th.
The minutes we don't have.
That request would have been in the emergency, the the emergency is.
So we went through this whole meeting for you to say we're supposed to have someone at the meeting that should have been on 18.
Well, that's because the people that we requested be at that meeting weren't at that meeting, so we requested them to come back to the
Okay,
subsequent meeting.
Fire Chief, would you come up for a second? Because you're the most experienced person and what they're saying has a direct relation to what you do on behalf of the city with these buildings. Would you share what you can with us regarding what's going on over there from a safety inspection standpoint and what they're saying Chris Haber did or didn't do?
From a fire standpoint?
From the fire
You
standpoint.
can't speak on the structure of the buildings, right? You speak on the fire.
That's correct. Basically, I have shared this with the mayor, I've shared this with certain council folks, as well as some of the concerned citizens. When it comes to fire and life safety, that's all I do. I don't do plumbing, I don't do electrical, I don't do mechanical, I have no clue about none of that. I do fire inspection only. That means, do we have working smoke alarms? Do we have a working fire alarm system? Do we have pressurized water, adequate water? Do we have communication between the panel to dispatch so that alarm systems is working, water pressure is working? Those are fire and life safety. My exit signs, my smoke detectors, all those are things that I inspect. Once I inspect that, then my job is done. That's fire life safety. I will walk around the building to look on the outside to make sure that if there's any holes or any kind of trash, like I did last night, was there trash in the hallways? All that stuff is a fire hazard. I need to have these things removed out of the way just in case something does happen. Students will have free and clear access and exit out of the building. So when it comes to Bureau Veritas, I can't speak for them. I've worked with Mr. Herschel on fire inspection. He inspected building, I believe it was 12 at one time, and I was with him at that time. Councilwoman Williams was there. I did the inspection with, yes sir.
May I ask what buildings did you do the inspection for?
I want to say it was building 12.
Well, and that's the only building that you've done the inspection for?
No. I've done inspections pretty much from that point on. Fire.
For which building?
12, 9, 1, 5, 26, 23, 28, 29, 31, and 27.
All right, thank you.
My question, is there a document that you use when you do this report? Do you have a report, an actual report on these buildings? Do you have that?
I don't have a formal document. Basically what I do is I take my notepad and I'll go in each room. Let's say 21, building number 21, 101. I will go in that room. I will walk around that room, sound every single fire alarm, smoke detector to make sure that when you push one, they all sound off. If it's a low battery, it needs to be replaced. I will write that down on my notepad. Once all my inspection has been done for that building, I will let the project manager know, this is what I need taken care of so I can re-inspect that particular room.
So on the buildings that you've inspected, there's no official document that you've submitted to the company or to the city that signed off that says we've gone through these 10 steps, that this is a good, what official documentation do we have to make sure that we have a sound process?
I have not submitted, no. For me, no.
So when
I can't speak on Bureau Veritas.
So when Bureau Veritas did the project that you were there, did they have a formal process or document that they had that
Notepad, just like me.
so the inspection report that they still have because they didn't leave there, they didn't have so I'm trying to see because
You talking about the items that was supposed to be taken care of?
yeah.
When he left, they were doing those items. They were fixing those things right then and there. He just didn't, He said he could not stay. He didn't have the time to stay. And that's when I interacted with Mr. Lee and I said, if it's okay with you, I will stay and make sure that they complete this.
So when Ms. Lee was here, who does the fire inspection for Bureau Veritas,
Yes, sir.
did they fail? Did that building pass at 4 o'clock or when he left? He left, why did Mr. Lee leave?
Because he had personal items that he had to take care of. The only thing that I know for sure that he failed was the pump. It was not at the right pressure. I witnessed this myself. They had the working pressure. By the time he went over there where it was, they lost the pressure. So they had to get it back up. He could not wait to stay there and watch them get the pressure up. At that time, it was, the required pressure was 200. They had it at 195.
So you are our inspector, how long have you been our fire inspector, Mr.
2016, but then I was told,
It was terminated in 2017.
I was told my term expired.
Councilman Jones?
Instead of us, talking in circles and things of that such, I suggest we come up with a plan and a day of action, and asking that the mayor request certain people to come on our behalf, so that way we can take care of this issue. What's the date that works best for everybody? I know running you got a game Saturday morning.
Saturday afternoon.
Like 12.
I have something at 2. I have something at 2, but you can do 3 more.
You say 30?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can make it. Brian, can you make it Saturday? Yeah. Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Jones?
and I want to ask that you guys make friendly amendments to this motion due to the fact of who are we requesting to come in. So, Mr. Mayor, I move that you request for our September. I request on September 1st meeting at 3 o'clock that you request Herschel Lee,
The fire inspector,
the fire inspector,
Christopher Haver,
Christopher
the building inspector.
Brian, see what else?
And that's a Saturday?
Yes, sir.
What's that time again?
I don't know if Saturday is gonna be a good idea for them.